So today we're going to take on the challenge of finishing the plucking the feathers off this feline. In the meantime, we have some good video for us.
To have an experience,
Michael Ramsden, he's a great guy.
Help define us, help us understand, and therefore help understand this world, the universe, this life, and everything in it. And pragmatical systems, which are rooted in doing, just simply say, look, do these things, put these principles into effect, live this way, and if you do, then all of a sudden you will have the keys that you need to understand who you are, and it will bring you to that point of salvation. It will bring you, if you like, to the mountaintop. However, the Christian faith cannot simply be reduced into one or even a combination of these three things. Now, there are some systems which try to combine all three together. So in philosophical Hinduism, for example, there are three Hindi words which can be translated: right thinking, right feeling, right doing. But it is not possible to reduce the gospel into any one of these three only. It is not just the fact that Jesus is not the case that Jesus Christ simply into this world to ask us to accept a new set of ideas, even though there is nothing more profound than coming to know him. It is not the fact that Jesus Christ came into this world to encourage us to have certain types of feelings, even though there is nothing more thrilling than meeting the person of Christ. And it's not that he came into this world to tell us to be nice to others, to be generous, and to give our lives in service, as noble as that may be. Even when Jesus Christ himself told us that we Christians should be known and marked out by what they do. Jesus Christ did not come into this world to simply give us new thoughts about God, to give us new experiences with God, or to simply tell us to do new things for God. Because Jesus Christ came into this world as God. He claimed to reveal Christ in his very being, in his very nature. He claimed that is who he is. Just try and flesh that out on another layer for you. Systems which are rooted in thinking are communicated to us in words. Words that are basic tools of thoughts. Words are revealed thoughts. My words reveal my thoughts to you, which is of course why reading God's word is so important, because it reveals his thoughts to us. But what did we just read at the beginning of the Gospel of John? We read that the word has become flesh and dwelt amongst us. A communication now not on the abstract thought of ideas, but now in the very concrete reality of the physical person of Jesus Christ, where he actually comes and makes God known to us in himself. Systems which are rooted in feeling. I'm talking about that moment in life, that dynamism in life, that will somehow help us understanding what all of life is about. But Jesus Christ defined life in terms of knowing him. In John 1:4, we read it, that in him was life. As a matter of fact, Jesus made that put it in even a bolder way a few chapters later in John 3:36, where he says, if you know me, you will have everlasting life. But if you do not know me, you will not see life, full stop. Jesus Christ is saying here that coming to know him is not so much a moment in life, it is the moment of life itself. Do you know that life? Have you ever received it? Having been raised a lot of my life in the Middle East, I was desperate for life. When I was raised as a child in Saudi Arabia and so on, there was quite a restrictive culture. You certainly couldn't organize a meeting like this. If you organize a meeting like this, that would be a crime punishable by death. Punishable by death. It's a very effective deterrent. They have no repeat offenders. And I grew up therefore hearing nothing about Jesus Christ and his claims. Now I was desperate, however, to know life and to live life in all of its fullness. And all of you here, whether you admit it or not, you are looking for a fullness in life. And if you are sitting here today and you are not a Christian, but you have a sneaking suspicion that it may be true and that worries you slightly, it's probably because that you're worried that becoming a Christian could be a retrograde step. In other words, life would be worse as a Christian than not as a Christian. And that was certainly true for me, because I was very happy with my life. And I was very fulfilled with my own life. I came from a loving family. They were very successful. We had money. We had power. We had influence in my family. I was good at school. I was a straight A student. I was captain of the tennis team, I was captain of the swimming team, I was captain of the chess team, I was captain of the basketball team.
Trédete, César, César.
I was a captain of the debating team. I was popular at school.
César.
Good looking.
César.
Remarkably humble as a young man. And I felt that everything was open before me. I was happy to experiment. I was trying to create an identity for myself, as I'm sure many of you are. There were all kinds of things I did in that time. I can remember as a teenager, I was driven. The images I had in life about what it meant to have a true, fully life was actually when I was 17, 18, was driven entirely by the movies. And I actually lived out what I saw in the movies, because surely that's what life was about. One great actor who had a huge impact in my life, and amazingly has never won an Oscar despite his great body of work, a man by the name of Arnold Schwarzenegger, produced all kinds of films that were attractive to me. One of his films, it starts with him walking up a mountain, carrying a tree on his shoulder while smoking a cigar. And since I don't have the build or inclination to carry trees, I took up cigar smoking. Another one of my heroes was James Bond. James Bond had a silver cigarette case. I had a silver cigarette. I smoked these French cigarettes because I could remove it from the case, flick it in the air, and as it was spinning, I could catch it in my mouth. It didn't matter which end you could catch, you could always light the other end. Now, what I'm telling you is completely true. None of this is made up, sadly. My wife were here, she would be red with embarrassment right now. But you know, on a box of matches, a little strip you strike a match against in order to light it. You know that little strip? I used to take that and stick it to the bottom of my shoe. So having flicked a cigarette into my mouth, I could take a match and light it like I'd seen in the movies. Now that was driven by Clint Eastwood, who for me was the epitome of all I wanted to be. There's a story told about Clint Eastwood who was asked the question, why does everybody think you're such a cool person? And he looked at the interviewer and he produced a small cigarette from his pocket, he put it on the edge of the table, flicked it so it started spinning in the air. While it was spinning in the air, he produced a match from his back top pocket, struck it under the table, lighting it, caught the cigar in his mouth, lit it, inhaled very deeply, blew one big smoke ring, 3 little smoke rings through the big smoke ring and said, I don't know. All of us are trying to create life and to have life. And many of us fear that the life that we may have in Christ will somehow be less than what it will be without him. And yet the message of the Christian gospel is actually quite radical. If you're sat here today and you're saying that you're happy with your life as you are, you're basically saying that you have a life to be happy with. And what the Christian gospel actually says is that actually Jesus Christ came into this world not to take bad people and make them good, but to take dead people and actually make them alive. Do you know that life? That's why he came. Systems which are rooted in doing are very pragmatic. They tell us to do these things and just live it in a certain way. In John 6:28, the disciples came to Jesus and they said, Teacher, what must we do to do the works God requires? They phrase a question to him in the plural. He replies in the singular. The work of God is this, to believe in the one he has sent. They say, but wait a minute, our forefathers, they ate bread from heaven, they had manna in the desert. What miracle will you perform? What will you do in order to justify yourself to us? And Jesus looked at them and said, I am the bread of life, I am. When they asked him to justify, when they asked him what to do, they were looking for a way to live. When they asked him to justify himself, they were looking for a path to truth. At one point, Jesus Christ turned to his disciples when following him got hard and said, do you want to leave me also? And they said, Master, to whom shall we turn? You have the very words of life. A way to live, a path to truth, and the words of life. In John 14:6, Jesus Christ said, I am the way, the truth, the life. I am. Jesus Christ sums all of the nature, all of his claims, and frames it in terms of himself. This makes him unique in all of the figures amongst all of the world's great religions. Because Jesus Christ did not come simply to offer us a system of thought, or to have a certain type of experience, or to tell us to do certain things. Jesus Christ came and offered us himself. That he is the way. That if you want to find God, you need to come to him.
Vamos por piezas.
Now,
Vamos
this
por
is at that
pasos,
point,
vamos por pasos.
this puts Jesus Christ in a class
Mueves
of
la
one.
barriga, así, suave.
If you take
Ahí está.
Buddhism and you come to a Buddhist priest and you say, look,
Ahí está.
did it have to be the Buddha who gave us Buddhism, or
Muy
could it have been
bien,
anyone else?
muy bien.
They will tell you, well, no, it was to the Buddha who did it, but anyone who achieved that enlightenment could have given you the system. But as a matter of fact, if you take Buddha away and even try to argue that he didn't historically exist, you know, he did, but even if he didn't historically exist, it doesn't matter. The whole system would remain intact. What he taught would still remain behind. If you're talking with Muslims and you say, look, did God have to choose Muhammad to give him this revelation, or could it have been anyone else? They will be absolutely insistent that no, this was the prophet that God chose. And I'll say, yes, that's correct. But could he have chosen anyone, or did it have to be Muhammad? And the answer is, well, no, I guess it could have been anybody. In other words, you can remove Muhammad from the system will still remain. But you cannot remove Christ from Christian. If you remove Christ from Christian, you're left with the letters I-A-N, and Ian cannot help you. Jesus Christ did not simply come to offer us a new system of thought, even though there was nothing more, I say, profound than knowing him. He did not simply come to give us a new kind of mystical experience. It was nothing more thrilling than meeting him. Jesus Christ did not come to tell us about God. Jesus Christ claimed that he came as God. That's why in 2 Timothy 1:12 we read, not that I know what I have believed and I am convinced, but I know whom I have believed and I am convinced. Now this is why Christian theology is dressed up in certain words that I'd like to try to unpack for you, as we just look at the fact that how the Christian faith is rooted, not just simply by reducing it into thinking, feeling, or doing, but into being. As a matter of fact, I think I'll be so bold as to say that you can look at any historical version of the gospel and see that it's come about because people have reduced it simply into a self-identity master, or some type of experience that you have, and all the time missing out the central person in the middle of the person of Christ, who is God. That's why within the Christian faith we talk about incarnation. Jesus Christ comes as God. We read in John 1 that through him all things were made. In the book of Genesis in chapter 1, we're told that God speaks. And as a result of that spoken word, existence comes. Now, what language did he speak? Do you ever think about that? Now, there are a few of you here who might think he spoke American.
Porque si no te convierto en gata.
English, as Her Majesty does speak it.
Muy bien,
Who, just in case you're wondering, is the solution to the political nightmare you're currently looking at.
Muy bien,
Every time you speak, you reveal something of yourself. Words are revealed thoughts. If I speak clearly and I communicate clearly, you understand exactly what I'm thinking, and you also learn something about who I am. When God speaks, do you think he speaks poorly? As God speaks, he reveals himself completely. And what was the word he spoke? In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was God, and was with God. And was with God, and the Word was God.
Ay, perdón. A ver.
Without him,
Ya.
nothing has been made.
Perfecto. A ver.
Jesus Christ
No te
is
no.
that Word.
Nomás te hizo cosquillas.
Things were made. And now we have this revelation of God himself, not in the abstract of thought, but in the flesh and blood of the person of Jesus Christ.
Muy bien, estamos
That's why in John 14:5,
suavecito.
Jesus said, if you know me, you would know my Father. And from now on, you do know him, and you have seen him. And one of the disciples said, Jesus, look, show us the Father, show us God. That will be sufficient for us. And Jesus looks at him and says, have I been with you all of this time, Philip, and you still don't know who I am? If you have seen me, you have seen the Father. He said, if you have seen me, you have seen God. Do you know who Jesus Christ is? He is in his very nature God. None of the other great founders of the other world's religions claims to be God. They say that they come to show a way, to teach a way, to reveal a way, but not to be the way. Jesus Christ said you have to come to him if you want streams of living water. In that sense, he has no peers, he has no competitors, and he has no equals. Christian faith is rooted in the
tigre,
items of salvation. It is through Christ's physical death and bodily
tigre.
resurrection that we are saved.
Eso no duele, yo sé que no duele.
At the cross, as Jesus Christ
Yeah.
goes to the cross, he takes on into his body everything that's gone wrong.
Ya, espérese, tigre,
Every
tigre,
wrong thought,
tigre,
every harmful experience,
espérese.
every bad thing that we have done, and all of the consequences that flow from
Yes.
those things, and all of the punishment he deserves, all of that he takes on
No
into
duele
himself.
eso.
Which is why the Bible says he has become a curse for us. Jesus Christ has become sin for us. We read it in our the first reading we had of Matthew, 2 Corinthians.
Ya va a terminar.
That God made him who had no sin to
Sí.
become sin for us. This is a very powerful statement. It is saying that
No duele
everything
eso,
that we
dice que no duele.
Christ has taken on into himself, and all of the
César.
consequences of that, and he pays and he deals
Lo
with
tienes
that on
acá,
the
pelos.
cross, and he conquers over it through his resurrection. He is raised to new life, and he
Well.
offers us that new life in him. Do you know that hope, that living hope that comes as a result of receiving that kind of life? That's why we talk about transformation. We read it again in that first reading in 2 Corinthians 15. If anyone is in Christ, they are a new creation. The old is gone, the new has come. We read it in John chapter 3, where Jesus Christ says, if you want to see God, if you want to be with God, you must be born again. Literally, you have to become a new kind of creation. Have you ever received that? To become a Christian is not simply to give intellectual assent to a set of ideas. It is not simply to have a certain type of experience. It is not to promise to lead this noble life. To become a Christian is to welcome the person of Christ and know a transformation of your very being. Because the problem that we face is not primarily that we have insufficient knowledge, a too low moral standard, or that we haven't had enough of certain types of experience. The problem that we face, the most fundamental problem we face, is of a very essential nature, which is why, when as a human race we ask the question, who are we, we're often scared with the answers that we get. Because essential answers, who am I, demands, an essential question, who am I, demands an essential answer. And the trouble is that we look inside, we're often troubled by what we see. I don't know if you've ever read any of Mary Shelley's books, the great atheist writer who rejected her Christian faith very early on. But in one of her books, Frankenstein, she makes a very startling observation. Now, just in case you've seen the films and you're confused, you need to understand that in the book, Frankenstein is a doctor who creates this benign, powerful being that is also slightly ugly. Or actually, more than slightly ugly. And this being comes to life. And when it is first created, it is good-natured, it is kind, it is gentle. But as this being observes more and more human behavior, and as he reads human history, human philosophy, observes human behavior, he becomes increasingly cynical, increasingly cruel, and increasingly violent.
Looking for a mosquito.
Later on in the book, the monster creates Dr. Frankenstein, because it has literally become a monster, and they have to they're looking to see how they can kill it, to terminate it. And the monster looks at his creator, Dr. Frankenstein, and says, when I first came into this world, and I looked at the human race, they seemed to be everything that could be considered godlike. He said to be a human seemed at one point to be the most noble thing that you could be. But as I looked at how you treat other people, as I read of your history, as I've seen what you've done, my admiration ceased, and I turned away, he said, in disgust and loathing.
Wow.
He says to be a human at one point seems to be everything that can be considered all good and godlike, and at the
was the
same time
original.
you seem to be so vicious and base. How can I reconcile, the monster says, these two parts to human nature? All I can conclude, the monster says, and remember this is from the pen of an atheist, all I can conclude is that you were created in the image of something which is perfect, and you've fallen away from it. I, however, the monster says, have been created in the image of something which is imperfect, and I have fallen away from that.
That's deep.
Most of us are not happy with who we are. That is why if you go into a bookshelf, you'll see them littered with self-help books, all promising change. And they all tell you, look, you're over here, you're not happy with who you are, but if you change the way you think, you change the way you feel, you change the patterns of behavior in life, you can become the person you've always wanted to be. There's a path from A to B, and they have a myriad of paths leading from one to another. But Jesus Christ's radical comment is that there is no path from A to B. Instead, there is a huge gulf between us, and there's no way to get from one to another. And what Jesus Christ comes and he claims that he can deal with that inner corruption that we just feel and we live in every day. I don't think you know one of the facts. Great neuropsychologist, studied in Oxford and then came over to share here. He wrote many books, one was called Awakenings, and that particular one was also made into a film with Robert De Niro. But if you read that book around page 26 or so, you'll see that Oliver Sacks, he makes a very interesting comment. This is one of the leading neuropsychologists. He says this: all of us have a basic intuitive feeling that once we were whole and well, at ease, at peace, at home in this world, totally united with the grounds of our being, and that somehow we lost this primal, happy, innocent state and fell into our sickness and suffering. We had something of infinite preciousness and beauty, and we've lost it. We spend the rest of our lives searching for that which we have lost, hoping one day we will suddenly find it. How do you like that? 100 years of psychological research, hundreds of billions of dollars spent, we finally got as far as Genesis chapter 3. This is the problem that Jesus Christ claims he comes to speak into. Not just simply to reprogram our minds or our emotions, or wipe out, just change our patterns of behavior when we become a Christian. He offers to change the very frame of our being. He claims that he can move us from darkness into light, that he can move us from death into life, that he can take a fallen and broken life and he can make it new and breathe new life into it. That is what it means to be a Christian. If you are here today and you've always thought of being a Christian as being nothing more than believing certain ideas, trying to do certain things, or having certain types of experience, but you've never met Christ and had that new life from him, you need to understand you still haven't entered into the reality of what it means to be a Christian. Because Christianity is not a state of mind, it's a state of existence. Do you know that new life in him? That is why he came. And this is the hope that God offers everybody. That he is able to deal with this foundational problem which is right at the center of the human heart and of human existence. When I finish from here today, I will have some lunch and then I'll go to Colorado Springs Airport and then I'll get to Denver Airport and I have a 2.5-hour layover there before flying home. And I'll be picking up the phone while I'm there to speak to a very good friend of mine who's also something of a mentor to me by the name of Tom Tarrants. Now, when I tell this story...
No way, just a glimpse of Michael Ramsden. I thought this was going to be a little easier, but Caesar's not in the mood right now. And I think it'd be better to cut it short. Plus, I got to start up in the morning really early, so we'll catch up mañana. Port O'Connor, life on stage, awesome customs. Jesus is Lord.